Okay.
Hi, you're again with Volleyball Explained Podcast and our special edition about the Volleyball Nations League. Ronnie is here, Nicola is here also, and I'm Bogdan. We are going to talk about the Final Four in both men's and the women's tournament. Brazil won the men's tournament with beating 3-1 Poland in the final, and USA beat Brazil in the women's tournament. So Brazil and USA going into the Olympics as winners in the VNL. We're going to talk also maybe at this time, but also the next times if they are also favorites for the Olympic titles. I was, for example, considering that there are even more great teams in the women's tournament than in the men's tournament, taking into account what we saw or what we didn't actually see in the tournament because of the rosters. Some teams played with their best, some players didn't. So let's start with what happened in the men's tournament with Brazil first, Poland second, France third, and Slovenia fourth. I don't know who is going to start. Probably Ronnie, but are you, Ronnie, surprised from what happened actually in the final four with actually Brazil annihilating France in the semifinal and then beating? I wouldn't say easy because they lost the first set and it was a very even second set, but they were totally dominant in the last two sets.
Well, I'm not so surprised per se because we all know that Brazil is a powerhouse since the early 20s. Even in the 90s, they won gold at Barcelona '92. They are they have history, they have a background that maybe in the finals can do some damage to this Poland team that spent all the tournament trying to put pieces there um, and there. They really never play with more than 5 games or maybe 3 or 2 with the same squad. But it is true. Leon played uh, his most horrible game that I saw in the national team with Poland. And this is could be a game changer because if you take out Leon, that is one of the most powerful tools that this Polish team have, alongside with Kuret and maybe the middle blockers, uh, they lose already 50% of of the of the of the tool that they have to win titles. And of course we have to praise Brazil because even with the age, men like Wallace doesn't seem like old, and he delivered a good game. In fact, maybe sorry. Besides, at the end, he received the MVP award alongside Kuret, a decision that I didn't like because you could award one like Kuret who lose the final with best opposite like was usually uh, um, uh, occurred in the past, and of course Wallace who was in the gold medal team awarded with the MVP. About the other games, in the semifinals, I didn't thought that both games will end 3-0. France played horrible. I think Engapet was with the head in the game versus Poland with all those arguments about racism and such. And well, Slovenia is a team that is relatively new in this type of competition, and they don't have a bench. Like all you guys know, they only have maybe 6 or 7 good players, and the rest doesn't even compare to the level of those new players. Maybe Mosic, which is a future for this squad, can do some damage, but only in the future.
I would like to get back a little bit to Brazil. My first impression where Brazil played in the final four, especially against France and Poland, is that when Brazil is playing block defense, it seems that actually the court is smaller and it is not possible for the ball to touch the floor. That's something like a first impression. They're playing really great, especially, of course, when the other teams has problems with the reception is on the fourth, fifth meter, something like this. Secondly, what is different from Brazil 2021 version to Brazil, for example, 2016, even when they won uh, the
Olympic
Olympic
gold.
title, and also 2018 when they played against Poland in the final of the World Championship, is that they have two brilliant outside hitters. In 2016, if I'm not wrong, they played with Lucarelli and Felipe Fonteles. And Felipe Fonteles was at the end of his career, also in 2018, even more at the end of his career, as okay, let's say it in the national team. And in 2018, the second outside hitter was Douglas Sousa. So this is because of injury of Lucarelli. So this was totally a different team just because of their outside hitters. Now with Leao being a Brazil national player and Lucarelli in a great shape, really great, I believe that it's hard to say if Lucarelli or Leao was in better shape and surely better than Leon in the final four. They were playing really great. I don't see an element where they were weak. They were great. Okay, not weak, but I don't know, just good. They were great in all elements, like block defense, coverage of the attack, serve, and especially they were very, very good at playing on a high ball, because I believe that a lot there many portions of this match against Poland, the final, both teams played on a high ball with good serve from both sides. Of course, Brazil a bit better, but Brazil played extremely well on a high ball, both Lucarelli and Leao, but also sometimes also Wallace, who I believe is a little bit weaker than the other two on a high ball. So first, second, third ball, if needed, they were great. I'm interested for something different. I believe in the first podcast about the VNL, we commented with you that Brazil is very passionate about winning the VNL this time, because they didn't win the World League for, I believe, 10 or 11 years. Mm-hmm. Also, I'm sure they played also very emotionally because of their coach, Renato Zotto, being COVID-19 sick and a hospital for a very long time. Fortunately, he's recovering now. So they've been led by Carlos Schwanke, his assistant. And I like this guy because he's very passionate. He's very different from many coaches who are at least trying not to show their emotions, and he did it all the time. So I like this. And it's interesting for me what is his influence on this team, because they really played very well. Talking about Poland, and here I would say, and I know that actually Ronnie is going to support me in this, but I believe that Poland has a very big problem, and this is the Kubiak problem. Kubiak is not the Kubiak from 2018. His efficiency, especially on a high ball, is much lower than before. He's not that efficient also in reception, especially in the. Unfortunately, I didn't see any statistics, or let's say data volley statistics from the final, but I saw one from the semifinal, and the efficiency of Kubiak was minus in reception and 0 in attack, or the other way around. But for sure, he was totally awful in this match. And he's there only because of his leadership. But when also Leon is not playing on the level needed, I don't think this is enough. So I would say that Vital Heynen has a lot of to consider before the team and before him, especially before the Olympics, because if Poland continues to playing in this way, where when they face a bigger opposition, they are not able to do it because they lost also in the group stage against Brazil. I believe it was a 3-0. So this is going to be a big problem for Poland, and we all know that their ambition is one and one only to play at least in the final, if not winning the Olympic Games.
Yeah, Nicola can say something too because even if he didn't watch the game, he knows that a team that only relies in one player is like a death sentence. You know, you can win some games, but at the end you can win the tournament.
Uh, Kubiak maybe is paying the fact that he's been playing away from Europe. Could be one of those. I mean, if you consistently play, even in I don't know a minor league in Europe for months, you are more trained, in my opinion, than playing every 2 weeks in Japan or this that different method they have. But I think that the problem with Kubiak is Poland needs him because of his emotional charge. Let's say like that. He's one of those players, even a little bit more rude. But as a Trentino Volleys fan, I had the opportunity to watch Uroš Kovačević live on the Old for 2 years, and he's one of these players that even if in his bad games, he could light up a team with a play or picking up with an opposite player, like it happened against France in the last round of the group stage. Relying too much on a single player could be a disaster. But on the other end, if that player is someone like Leon, you could do that. If that player is something like Kubiak, is a risk because it's a coin toss. We saw before in many international competition. But I think that Heynen has the man to sub him with the Canadian coachless player that he called for the national team. You say that maybe when they play stronger teams, they will have more difficulties. But that's the fact that you play stronger teams. I mean, the weapons here could be enough to overcome some of the teams I saw in the national leagues, like I don't know, Iran, Australia, or Canada, that were pretty easy to beat. But at the end, a final like that, if I'm a Polish fan and I have to pick a final where Kubiak will not perform, better now than in a couple of weeks in the Olympics.
Well,
yeah, for sure. And also it's interesting that they are in the weaker group in the Olympics. So they will face maybe Italy is their biggest competitor in the group. Probably also, I don't know, probably Iran, because we can expect a lot from Vladimir Aleknov's team. But I would like to mention something about Kubiak more. Taking into account his performance in the Final Four, I don't understand how he was pronounced one of the best outside hitters in the dream team, let's say, of the league. They could give this at least to some of the Slovenian guys, just to, because they are always giving something to any team in order for anybody to be satisfied. But I believe that they needed to give it to Tine or to Clement Chebuls, because I believe that I would say that they were even better than Kubiak. Let's mention also something about Slovenia and France, because honestly, I didn't watch the match for third place. So we all know that third place matches are very strange, and it depends more on motivation than on real technical, tactical, and physical skills. I would say that France in the semifinal against Brazil, they're a little bit lethargic. And another factor I would like to mention is that I have the the feeling that in big matches, or at least in this VNL in big matches, like the match against Poland and the match against Brazil, uh, opponents of France are already not trying but succeeding in reading the game of Benjamin Tonuti. I believe that Poland read his game, and Brizard actually turned it around in the last match in the group stage, and I believe that also this was the case in the match against France against Brazil. Uh, as Ronnie mentioned before, Tonuti Brizard is probably the best and the most in the and one of the most even uh, pairs, setter pairs in the national teams. But I believe that they need to change it more, to even to rotate it, and in order to let's say it in this way, to change the pace, to change the tactics. Also, I believe that was the case in 2012, 2013 when I believe that Philip Bland was the coach back then, with Tilly on the assistant place seat, and they rotated a lot Tonuti and Pierre Pujol. So I believe that this could help France. Of course, this is Tonuti, and it's hard to substitute him, but I believe that could be a recipe for France, and especially from what I saw in these two matches. They had a lot of problems on a high ball. It's a totally unorthodox opinion, but Erwin Gapet is not the Erwin Gapet of 2, 3, 4 years ago. He's not that efficient like he used to be. And of course, that means also that these two factors, the high ball problems and Gapet, and also the opposites, that they need a lot of good reception in order to be competitive against the best teams. And some words also about Slovenia. Slovenia, I believe that they were just tired in the final four. They are playing the whole tournament with all the same players, with Ropret, Stern, Čebulj, Urnaut, Kozamernik, Pajing, and Kovacic. And in practice, they have only two substitutions: Alen Šket, who is the eternal substitution for Slovenia, and Rok Možić, the new talent of Slovenia, who is going to play, I believe, for Verona next season.
And sometimes they use a very bad shape that Dejan Bincic. You know, he isn't performing. He wasn't performing well in Bundesliga last season when he ended second with Freddy Chaffen. He has been struggling with injuries and back pain, you know, and of course I don't know the name. I just will name it the ball guy. I don't know his name. A short ball guy. I maybe if I look in the in the names, it will come to my mind. But yes.
Klobuchar maybe. Klobuchar or
something like that.
Yeah.
But yes, like you mentioned. This team that Slovenia has remind me so well to my old national team of Cuba with only 6 or 7 good players, you know, and they ended 2 times in a row in 4th place at the World League in 2009 and 2010, because they didn't have that deep in the bench around the tournament, and if you only play with 6 or 7 guys. And on top of that, you put the travels and the long wait in the airports. That's gonna make your team suffer in the latest game of this competition. And Slovenia had luck this year because even if they ended last, they didn't get relegated. and they didn't have to travel, so was all there. I believe it will be a different year for them next VNL with the travels and all of that. Yes, this is a generation that is coming slowly to the end, because Renaud has more than 30 years. The two setters have more than 30 years. Pajenk have more
Also.
than 30 years. So and even Clemens
Only
Sebult,
Stern,
and even
only
Clemens
Stern and
Kosamernik,
yeah.
yes, and Mosic. But even Clemens Sebult have 29 years old next year, 30. So people ask me, do you think that it will be possible that they qualify to Paris? It will be hard, the only advantage that they will have is maybe that France is already qualified and is a spot for a European team that it will not use. It is already used. So maybe Slovenia, Bulgaria, Serbia will compete for that spot for sure. Maybe Italy, if they keep I don't know, let's say playing bad at this kind of tournament, because even if Nicola doesn't like, this is a tournament that take you points from the ranking, from the world ranking, and like it or not, the world ranking will be a huge part of the qualification process for the next Olympics.
Yeah, but it also changed very quickly, the world ranking. This year they changed it with every game, and Italy will have the Olympics to recover some of the points. And in this WNL, they ended up with 7 wins and 8 losses. I mean, they were not.
I think for them to break even, they will have to reach quarterfinals, maybe.
In the Olympics.
In the Olympics, yeah.
Which is perfectly doable considering the group of Italy. Not the strength of the team itself, but the other countries in the Group A of the Olympics. So I'm not particularly worried about the next draw.
And also you have the Eurovolley late in the year, but I don't know the aspiration. I mean, this will be a perfect tournament to test the new wave of Italian players like Micheletto and company. I don't know if Micheletto will be under pressure, because he also have to play the World Championship U21. But I mean, he is young. He can take the charge, team with him. So yes, let's see in the future programs how the teams will gonna end after the Olympic Games.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to see Micheletto because he's going to play only in Italy. I mean the World Championship U21. By the way, just to include one news here about the U21 teams. Bulgaria U21 will play 3 friendly matches against the B team, the second team of France, and this team is going to be led by Bernardo Rezende. This is the news from today from Bulgarian media.
I don't know how many euros Ganev pay to get those 3 matches, because usually a team of men, men doesn't play with U21 team, so and to travel to France, maybe that's why they agree.
With all his positive and negative sides, it's for sure that he has a lot of contacts in France. I'm sure about this. But so, it's interesting. Also, I'm not sure if fans will be allowed, because now in Bulgaria fans are allowed in the stands. But the game, I would ask the persons needed.
Those games, France versus Bulgaria, will take place in France, right?
No, here in Sofia.
In Sofia, okay.
The 3 matches will be played in Sofia, in the new hall of Levski, in Levski Sofia. Okay, let's go a little bit just to mention about the women's tournament. USA beat Brazil in the final 3-1. I believe, or if I'm not mistaken, with a great game, I believe. Especially the first three sets, in a really nice match to watch. And I would say that the problem of Brazil in this match is that they don't have their substitutions US have. Because, for example, for the US, Thompson started as an opposite, and then Andrea Drus came in, and she was really good, really good. And Jordan Larson played a very good match. Also, Barge Hackley from Vakavbank played a really great match. And here we are talking about a team that is able to leave out from the Olympics players like Carlini, the setter, like Megan Courtney playing in Italy in Savine do Bene Scandici, with having Misha Hancock at the bench with Porter, I believe, the starting setter for the US. And again, Brazil, it's also great players like Gabi, like Natalia, like Tandara, and Macris, etc., etc. So it was a really great match. And at the beginning of the podcast, I mentioned that probably, at least in terms of the count, the number of the teams in the women's tournament, we are going to have teams like Brazil, US, Turkey. They finished third in the VNL. We have
China.
Turkey with Japan being fourth in the VNL. We have the teams of Russia, Italy, and Serbia who didn't play with their best all the Volleyball Nations League, and we have also China, which played very few matches with their best. So this is something which is very interesting, because we have eight teams in the women's tournament which I believe they can play for medals. Maybe not all of them are able to win the title. For example, I would say that it's not possible for Turkey to win the title, but if some things and circumstances happen, why not a medal for them, or at least a final four? I wouldn't say that this is the case in the men's tournament. I would say that in the men's tournament only six or seven teams are able to fight for medals, and most of them are in the second group with Brazil, US, France, Russia, and what I'm missing.
France, USA.
Oh, no, I'm not missing anything. Argentina is not able to do
I
it.
think it's all about tiers. You know, you have tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 in men, and also you have tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 in women. For example, Russia only have the name in the women team, because we all know that Russia is not that strong force anymore from the Gamova and Sokolova and etc. You have also to count with Italy in the men, even if they don't have the youth of 4 years ago, because they are in experienced teams in this type of competition, and also USA. Most people don't think that they will end with a medal. I think that they weren't favorites to get a medal 4 years ago or 5 years ago, and they did it. So it's all about to get there and see in the first 2 or 3 matches what's going on. You know how the teams are, because they are a lot of pressure for some players, because they are playing his last Olympic Games, like Pantorena, like Saisev. In USA you have Smith, Anderson, who are playing his last Olympic Games. Maybe Wallace de Sousa, I don't know. For sure, Poland, you have Kuret and Kubiak, and they all those players want to get a medal, even if it's a bronze. It's worth, you know, you will get your name put in the history of the sport. And of course, in the women's team, like you say, I have at least 2 favorites for the goal. In the men, I have Poland and Brazil. and in the women I have China and USA, because I didn't see yet Serbia and Italy. You know, I have to see what Italy is capable of. Uh, uh, a good thing for those girls is that they are in the hardest group, and they will have to get the shape through the competition. I know that they will play versus Serbia in a couple of days in Serbia, a couple of friendship matches, you know, and that's will do some good to them, because really I don't like I know that BNL for some people is not a good tournament, maybe useless, like Nicola said, but you have to get some rhythm, you know. China did it with using the best players that they have in the 4 and 5 week, and they won all the matches, even with USA 3-0. Boom. So that's why I think China has a strong team. Maybe the 6 or 7 players are very good, and then you have the bench. For me, of course, like Bogdan say, the best bench is USA, because they have almost all the players playing in Italy and Turkey, the best leagues, and of course they have the experience of this group with Larsson and Drews and yes, and Kirai made an interesting choice, because I believe the players that he used in the final, taking out Larsson, are the subs. For me, Polter is not the main setter over Hancock, and of course Thompson is not the main opposite over Drews. So yes, that's my opinion overall about all those topics that you
Okay,
mentioned.
yeah, I believe that that was quite enough for today. We discussed all the both final fours. Uh, I would propose, as we talked before, to make a special podcast, and here I can actually invite all our viewers and listeners to propose the topic. We had some proposals, suggestions about the extraordinary or legendary volleyball venues, like, for example, Marcanizinho or Spodek in Katowice, or just the stadiums, or like Foro Italico, where volleyball has been played. So maybe I would say something like 2 weeks time, we're going to make a special podcast on a specific topic which is not linked to actual and current events. And then just before the start of the Olympics, we're going, of course, to make a pre-Olympics podcast, taking into account the rosters and things that are going to happen in this period of 3 weeks and a little bit more before the start of the Olympics at the end of July.
I
That
just wanna make a last question
Yeah.
to Nicola, that for reason that we know isn't participate too much in this edition of the podcast. What do you expect of your team in the Olympics, or what do you like to see happen in that particular tournament?
You mean as a result or
As
as the deal?
yes, the final result, you know.
Well, I think that it would be a great achievement fighting for a medal, so reaching the semifinals. But at the same time, you said it well, it's probably the last great tournament for players like Zaitsev and Osmani Wantorena. So maybe they have that extra motivation to push Italy further than what we expected. But honestly, I don't know what to expect in terms of final result. But I expect the team to fight at least to to get on the second place in the Group A, and then, as Zaitsev say, whatever comes in the quarterfinal, they have to face them and see what will happen.
I believe Poland, of course, will end first in Pool A, but I will expect a tie break in that game, because nobody want to face the third or second place on the other group. So even the fourth place of that group will be a hard task for
Exactly.
for everyone. So yes, because you have of course
Tunis
and Argentina.
Tunis will be fourth.
And Argentina, yeah, of course. So yes, basically
Okay.
is that it? Bogdan?
Okay, follow us in Volleyball Explained, our channel in the podcast plus platforms. In Twitter, follow Pilole di Volley of Nicola and also Cuban Spike of Ronnie, of course, and watch us and listen to us also the next time too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.